Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about astrology, Chris Cuomo, and the coronavirus. Now, many of you may know renowned television CNN anchor Chris Cuomo has announced that he has been tested positive for the coronavirus. First of all, I want to give my prayers and sentiments go out to him and his family right now. And I do hope he gets out of this relatively unscathed, and it doesn't escalate to something more serious with him. But I'm going to talk about his chart a little bit and some natal placements, some transits that might correlate with this. Now, the thing I noticed, okay, first I want to just say that I didn't don't have his time of birth, so again, I had to improvise and do a solar slash sunrise chart for him. Chris Cuomo is a sun in Leo, has his moon in Scorpio. He was born August 9th, 1970, New York, New York. He's obviously, very straight up New Yorker astrology out of the way. Sun in Leo, obviously somebody, I'm sure, I don't know what his ascendant is, but likely somebody that has near inexorable energy, and is somebody that, as far as the sun being in astrology, our basic wants, what we want, and that could be connected with being in Leo, the notoriety, getting exposure, recognition, and then injecting that energy into the moon in Scorpio through something with investigation to some degree. When you're a television journalist, you're doing investigation, you're trying to get to the bottom of things. He's probably somebody that really likes to go deep into matters, even if it's on an unconscious level at times. But given that it's the moon, this could be where he could be publicly recognized for somebody that does it, that is about investigation, that is about getting to the bottom of mysteries, conundrums, what have you. And anyway, probably has a very good ability to go beyond subterfuge and superficiality as well from others, and detect lies quicker than most other people can. And being the moon, of course, perhaps an emotional need for doing so. Now, the thing is, I'm looking at, as far as his chart goes now, in the solar sunrise chart, he does have Neptune in the fourth house, so that does indicate a little bit greater propensity for getting for the end of life, for a disease that might impact your end or your latter part of life. So he does need to be you really careful. This is something where also I noticed in his chart too. Okay, he's got Pisces on the eighth house cusp, and Pisces on the eighth house cusp can indicate a death from something that could be from a disease that can't be eradicated, in this case the coronavirus. Now the thing is, I don't think he's going, most people are not going to die from this, but he's definitely in a little stronger danger zone based on the chart, the solar sunrise chart, and the transits right now connected with it. He also has transit Neptune and Mercury in Pisces in that eighth house. And the thing about it is, you're talking about transit Neptune. Transit Neptune in Pisces right now is really one of the big culprits, I believe, just collectively how people are being impacted by a disease that can't be eradicated. That is connected with something that can't be eradicated, that doesn't have a cure for. Pisces can be, Neptune can be about diseases, and Pisces, of course, can be about one's illnesses that can't be eradicated. So this is something and he has it in that eighth house. Eighth house is not just death, of course. It could be just crisis in its transformation. This is something that's having a major impact on him. Chris Cuomo has announced he is going to continue to do his show, but he's going to be doing it at home. And it's interesting, we have transit North Node is in Cancer right now, and at the time when this came out, the moon in Cancer, not far from the transit North Node in Cancer. This is a time right now where this could be just collectively for many, where it's a strong emotional need to be tied in as far as where we're headed toward, where our future lies, it's toward introversion, it's toward the family, it's toward things that are of a domestic nature. And the thing about this too is um, you're also looking at this, and that conjunction I believe fell in his 11th house, and that's of course, I mean, 11th house could be tied in with social networking, social media. Um, Another thing that I noticed with him as well, this could be, as far as a transit goes, it stood out to me. He's also got the when he made this announcement, transit Sun was very close conjunction to his natal Chiron. It's transit Sun in Aries, and when you have transit Sun coming close to your natal Chiron, I have it right now I have transit Sun as well by my natal Chiron, so I have to be exceptionally prudent and careful right now. And again, going back to that transit, the Sun can be about issues, I mean, the physical body. And when you have it at Chiron, this could increase the proclivity for some physical issues. There's some suffering, literal, well, talk about wounds, physical suffering. And Aries, of course, can be associated with fevers, and this is something too, where, and also when you're talking about the transit Sun hitting Chiron, there can be wounds, figuratively speaking, in connection with one's vitality and energy level as well. So, and it's shining in transit Sun hitting one's Chiron could be shining the light on things of a physical nature. It can be, I mean, Aries, perhaps something with fevers, with rashes, and those can be symptoms associated with the coronavirus. Now, also, Chris Cuomo has transit Neptune, making a long inconjunct aspect to his natal Sun in Leo. Natal Sun in Leo may have near inexorable, indefatigable energy, but when you have Neptune, whether transit Neptune when it's making an adverse aspect or even an inconjunct, I mean, you could be looking at, I mean, it's something where that energy level may not quite be there at this time. And the thing about, and you're talking about possible energy dissipation, but the thing about the inconjuncts could be health related as well, but they're also inconjuncts in astrology can be about adjustments. So now what his adjustment is, it's either about Sun and Leo focusing on extroversion, gregariousness, the limelight, or the Neptune being transit Neptune in Pisces and the long inconjunct aspect to it, Neptune in Pisces, isolation, seclusion due to a disease that can't be eradicated. So what it tells me right now at this point in time for Chris Cuomo, he's likely either going to try to overemphasize one or the other, and he's going to, and the key is to try to find a balance for both things. Being a Sun in Leo, it's obviously hard for him, I'm sure, to really have any need to avoid the limelight. But like I stated before, many of you may have heard in some announcement he has made, the intention for him right now is still to continue doing his show, but doing it from the confines of his home. At this time as well, he also, in the solar sunrise chart, he has transit Saturn and Mars. They are conjunct in the 6th house of health. Now, Saturn by itself can be about difficulties, sometimes debilitations, ones of a very spontaneous or unusual nature. You have Mars connected with that. Well, Mars can be about inflammations, fevers, rashes, and when you're talking about the 6th house of health and being Uranus, it could be one of a very unusual nature, and Saturn can give more difficulty, perhaps with that being conjunct Mars at this time, and give more sorrow and despondency in association with that. The thing about this too is how that could be affecting people collectively. Now it's interesting because you're talking about, okay, Mars is conjunct Saturn right now in transit, and the thing about that is Mars again can be associated like with inflammations, fevers, and when you look at Mars, could be irritation, it could be about things that irritate us that agitate us, I believe, as well. And you're talking about Aquarius, something of an unusual nature. And being conjunct Saturn, Saturn can be about the career. It's interesting, though, that the coronavirus, which can be associated with fevers and rashes, you're talking about going back to Mars, going back to Mars and Aquarius. Things, I mean, this is something where people might be getting hit by this very unexpectedly, very spontaneously. But when you're looking at it collectively, remember that Saturn and Aquarius can be about careers or a career in television. Mars right now hitting Saturn, it's not surprising now. You're probably going to have, it wouldn't surprise me at all if you have a lot of people come out that have a career in television, that are going to come out and say they have this issue, that they're at least experiencing symptoms with rashes, with fevers that are tied in with the coronavirus. So this is because you have Mars conjunct Saturn, and again, Mars can be about rashes. They can be about inflammation. I mean, it could be about fevers, rashes, and the coronavirus, of course, is associated with that. And hitting Saturn, it's probably going to affect more people that are in a career that is involved with television at this time. And another thing too, what I noticed with Chris Cuomo's chart, he's obviously got a lot of, in the solar sunrise chart, a lot of transits now from at least Jupiter and Pluto are transiting his 6th house right now. And Jupiter, I mean, can of course, I mean, even as I've stated in previous videos, Jupiter can be rather paradoxical, could be very strongly benign and benevolent, but it could also have a tendency to enlarge and expand. Now, in this case, it might enlarge and expand some issues health related that can be somewhat depressing at this time and have certain limitations, given that we're talking about Capricorn, and also Pluto can be about viruses. And transit Pluto in that 6th house in the solar sunrise chart for Chris Cuomo can be about manifest in a health related issue, or a virus might be affecting his health at this time. So those are some things to look at this time. And also the thing about the thing is, I want to just get at again is that I mean, my prayers are out for Chris Cuomo. He actually, I don't know if I ever said this in a video or not, but what Chris Cuomo actually did for me, hold on a moment, people. What happened one time was that I had done a video one time, and Chris Cuomo had shared it on his Twitter page. It was a video that was something that had taken place in New York, where a man had rescued somebody in New York from some kind of falling elevator shaft or something like that. And what the man did was he wound up getting hurt in the process. He wound up perishing in order to save the other person's life. He got the other person out, but he wound up getting, his back wound up getting crushed because of it, and he ultimately perished. And I did a video about that incident, and what I was focusing on in the video was that there was, I believe, very strong misconception regarding people of New York, that a lot of people think, well, they're all cold and callous, and they don't care, and everybody's just about themselves there, where the reality is you actually have more people that are more compassionate than you think. And what he did was, Chris Cuomo shared that video onto his Twitter page. I thought it was very nice. I mean, again, it shows, it's another example of people in New York that are actually have benevolent, that can actually be very benevolent, and they're not all cold and callous. But that's basically what I wanted to get at and talk about his some transits in his chart and some natal placements that might be tied in with this with the coronavirus. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.